Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DFS Down Under Show, brought to you by dailyfantasyrankings.com.au. My name is Luke Matheson. I'm known as Smatho in the DFS community here in Australia. I am the smallest grinding stakes player that you ever meet. I get a little bit anxious submitting my $2 minis in the various competitions here in Australia. So I enlisted the help of my fellow contributor here at Day Fantasy Rankings. His name is Tristan Heffernan, also known in the DFS community as Big Hef. Hef, welcome to the DFS Down Under Show. How are you this evening?
Thanks, Smatho. I'm excellent. I'm pumped for the Big Bash finals coming up. Obviously, we've got the massive Biggest Bash live final coming up on Sunday. That's going to be awesome, and looking forward to chatting about all the cricket coming up. It's going to be good.
Yes, it is going to be pretty good, especially with our two semi-finals this week and the Biggest Bash grand final on Sunday afternoon. Now, as you may or may not be aware, on the dailyfantasyrankings.com.au website, Tristan has been providing our previews for all the Big Bash games for this season. And lately, his projections have been coming very, very handy for all of our players here in Australia. So, today's show, we are going to look at the two semi-finals coming up this week. And then we'll talk to Tristan about the Biggest Bash that's going to be here on Sunday. Hef is lucky enough to obtain a golden ticket and then decided to get a second ticket for the event. So we'll talk to Hef about his preparation for the big match here on Sunday. But let's just have a look at the first game on Thursday evening. And it's my Hobart Hurricanes playing the Melbourne Stars here at Blundstone Arena. Hef, initial thoughts on the game to start with?
I'm nervous actually for the Hurricanes. They've had a massive season. They've been top of the ladder all the way through, but there's just some cracks appearing in the last couple of matches. The bowling's not really working, and when we see them not being able to chase, just starting to get a little bit nervous. And the Stars, they've got those Aussie reps back, and they killed the Sixers on Sunday. They're really looking good. So I think this is going to be a massive semi-final, and whoever wins probably goes into the grand final as favourites. What did you think?
Look, personally, I'm actually a bit anxious about the Hurricanes' chances of actually winning on Thursday. If it was any other side in the competition, the BBL will be like by how much of the straight. But with the Stars lineup now stacked with your Maxwells, your Stoinis, and your other players have missed the majority of the actual BBL, including Sandeep, I'm quite nervous. So, look, the Hurricanes are still favoured for the actual match. Look, the squads, have you seen any of the squads so far for the actual teams, the 13?
No, the squads usually be out tomorrow afternoon. I don't think we'll see too much change apart from the Hurricanes have announced James Faulkner will be back, and that's a pretty big in for them, the way their bowling's gone. He's been excellent this year, opening up and finishing off the innings. So he's a massive inclusion, and I couldn't see the Stars changing too much from that game against the Sixers the other day.
No, I don't see many changes for the Star side. Let's have a look at the projections for the actual matchup, and you'll be able to find these on our DFR website. If you go to the BBL resources page, you'll find a plethora of information, including recent game logs, projections against salary. Hef, what is standing out for you in these initial projections for this matchup?
Well, I think the first thing you notice is how many high-priced players we're going to have. Darcy Short, Matty Wade have obviously been in unbelievable form this year, and you've had to pay through the nose, but you've been able to do so because they've had a number of games with a lot of value options, but now they come up against the Stars and they've got their own big guns in, especially Marcus Stoinis, and Maxwell was scintillating the other night against the other afternoon against the Sixers. So it's one of the first times where you've got to actually make a decision between a few of these players priced up around $20,000. I noticed the salaries were released today by Draftstars, and Short at 23,000, Stoynes 22,000, Wade 19, and Maxwell 18. So we've had a lot of games where we can pretty much play whoever we like, but getting into the business end now, we're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yes. On my initial lineup I tried to construct today, I actually had a very hard time fitting 2 out of the 4 in a particular lineup and be happy that the other players in my lineup are actually going to score points. So do you reckon, Hef, that 1 out of 4 is the go and then try and hit a balanced lineup, or try and get the two studs into your lineup and just fill it up with scrubby players?
Yeah, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Obviously, in Big Bash, it all comes down to your lineups and trying to predict what's going to happen in the game. If you're really heavy on the Hurricanes batting, you might be able to use Caleb Jewell, who's at 9,500. If you want to use the big guns in Short and Wade, he can sort of offset their salaries a bit, and then you're really lining them all up together to be a big 1 or 2 down innings for the Hurricanes. But it's going to be very hard to fit them in. Raw points is huge in Big Bash, and I think you're going to have to go with at least 2 of them, and it's just going to be a matter of which 2 you choose with.
Now, as I said, I'm the single entry kind of player here on Draftstars, so it's almost a thing. I've got to back my Hurricanes and get at least Wade or Short into a lineup. I'll probably have to go with Short, knowing that A, he bowls, and B, he bats. So if we do have a failure at one end of the spectrum, then you at least hopefully obtain points for his salary. Whereas if players like Wade and possibly Maxwell probably may or may not bowl here at Blunston, it's not exactly an MCG large ground where you can get noodle around for 2s or 3s, where at Bluntstone, if you pitch it short, you're going to go into the hill. Blunston has been recognised as one of the best grounds here in the BBL. Is that come out in terms of pure fantasy points production as well?
Look, it does. I'm going to just share with you here. This is a page from our BBL resources on dailyfantasyrankings.com.au. We've got a points against page, which has a number of tables to calculate the fantasy points for against the teams. And we've got a venues section here, which has been really, really helpful for me. I know trying to work out how games are going to be played and building my lineups around that, which we try and touch on in the previews that we write for Daily Fantasy Rankings. But if you can see here, Blunston Arena stands out as the worst ground in the competition if you're a bowler. Opposition bowlers, of course, you've got Short and Wade. They've been feasting on bowlers all season. So the trip down to Tassie hasn't been fun for many of the bowlers. And it hasn't been fun at all for the Hobart bowlers either. But you can see there, they're 148 is the average score for bowlers, and that's clearly lower than pretty much every ground in the comp. So with that in mind, if you're thinking about your single entry teams, I think you really want to be leaning towards the batsman.
So possibly look to put, say, if I did play Short, play him as a bowler, or Maxwell, play him as a bowler, and just try and jam in some more batters into my lineups.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to go about it. Obviously, you can win with, or maybe not even playing Short as a bowler, but just spending down in the bowler positions, making sure you can really spend up on the big batsmen who seem to be making big scores more often than not down here in Hobart. There's a couple of bowlers. Daniel Worrell has been slow to get going after his injury, but he's still down there at 9,800. He took a couple of wickets against the Sixers. So you can get away with picking a bowler who might only take the 1 wicket, or they might just have a smaller economy bonus if you've got the big batsmen who score the runs and make up for them.
I'm particularly thinking about whoever bowls first in the matchup, probably take the cheaper bowlers, hopefully pick up some death wickets when the team batting first is trying to go hard as it can at the end of their innings. So we all know that chasing teams are doing pretty well this season. So I'll probably look to get a cheap death bowler in my lineup and just hopefully the batters come through the goods. Game theory.
Just on that, we have seen a couple of games where the chasing team has won. It's often the Hurricanes, but they've won 1-2 wickets down, and the bowlers are just providing nothing at all for the providing nothing at all in the second innings. I'll just go back to the top of this points against chart. We have the batting and bowling points allowed by each side. And one thing that really stands out there on the bowling side is the Hurricanes. They just give up no points to bowlers at all. And that's, again, obviously a combination of their strong batting and the games they've played at Blunston. But if you're looking to play bowlers against the Hurricanes, it's going to be tough. So even though the Stars are at full strength, there's nothing to say that a Hurricane stack might not be the way to go.
Okay.
And maybe with a couple of the Stars batsmen there, but you might want to just stick with the Hurricanes bowlers. That's an angle to take. They know their home ground. They know which ends they like to bowl from, and they know how to keep the runs down. So that's another angle you can take.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Look, in terms of what's going to actually happen in the game, look, hopefully the Hurricanes get the chase. They've been bloody good chasers all year, so hopefully we win the bat flip, send them in. Hopefully the spinners can do some damage. Hopefully, your shorts and your wades play it out. But as I said, I was a bit nervous when the Stars made the final, so hopefully that goes through. So what do you think of what's actually going to happen in this game from a game theory?
I think whoever wins the toss, that's going to be massive. Obviously, the Hurricanes have been super chasing. The Stars, though, they've got the firepower that they can pretty much chase down anything if they're on, with the likes of Maxwell, and we haven't seen much from Dwayne Bravo, but he's another option there. And the Hurricanes bowling's been a bit iffy lately. One player I really am keen to be with is Sandeep Lamashane. I think he's been unbelievable for the Stars. He took 3 wickets again against the Sixers early in the season when the Stars lost down here at Blunston Arena. He was still excellent. He took 2 for 24 off his 4 overs from memory.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
If I'm paying up for a Stars bowler, I definitely want to be on the Sandeep train, that's for sure.
Do you know any other surnames in the world that has double H in a name?
Double H, no, it's got me in the preview a few times, that's for sure. But strange names, but they've just taken over this big bash, haven't they? These Asian spinners, even K's Ahmed, he's been unreal since turning up for the Hurricanes, and he's sort of been the one thing they've been looking for. So I'm looking forward to seeing Sandeep and K's, or however you pronounce his name.
Whatever.
They're going to be awesome to watch.
I wasn't going to pronounce his name. I left that to you.
I've been waiting for you the whole time to go with it, but let's hope he just catches a bit better than he did the other night down here against the Renegades when it was all going well when he dropped that sitter.
Well, speaking of the Renegades, let's move on to the second semi-final, which is the Renegades versus the Sixers at Marvel Stadium. Now, as the time of recording here, we don't have the actual squad/salaries from Draftstars yet, but we do have a fair idea of what is actually going to play out in this contest. Currently, the Renegades are slight favourites against the Sixers after their pretty poor performance against the Stars. That was concerning, I suppose, if you're a Sixers fan. But again, this is semi-final cricket. The form goes out the window, and whoever gets picked gets picked. Look, there are a couple of changes to the sides as well. Mohammad Nabi's actually have Afghan duty, I suppose, in his national side. And it's the same with the Sixers that Tommy Curran has also left the side to go back to the Caribbean to play for the England side. So they're actually 2 big outs. So who actually affects us the most there, Hef?
Yeah, they're massive, aren't they? Nabi's probably the bigger loss, but it's hard to split them. Curran has just been unreal in some games without having much impact on the others. But I think given the performances the pace bowlers have had at Marvel this year, I think Curran's going to be a huge loss for the Sixers, and I'm not really sure who they're going to replace him with. Whether they stick with their spin attack of Lyon, O'Keefe and Pope. And it'd be interesting to see what they do with that side. Whereas he's probably been a little bit disappointing, it's fair to say, this season, but the way the Renegades batting has floundered, I guess you could say, a number of times, his ability to score 30 and maybe to pick up a wicket or two with the ball, he might not have been as good as he has been last year, but he's still a big loss to the side.
Yeah, I found with Nabi this year that his salary didn't actually increase to the stud like where you had to really play him every match. It was a bit hard to judge when he was going to come into bat and actually how many overs he was actually going to bowl. But when he did bowl and when he did bat, he was actually producing good fantasy scores. The dilemma, I suppose, the Sixers have, how many spinners did they play on this god-awful Marvel Stadium pitch?
It's an interesting one is Ben Menentio. He sort of burst on the scene with a game against the Renegades early in the year, and he opened the bowling and took 2 for not many, and we haven't really seen a lot of him since, and what we have seen hasn't been overly good, but I wouldn't have thought they'd go with 4 spinners, but I'm not really thinking of too many pace bowlers they have to bring back into the lineup. One thing we know about Marvel Stadium is it's the total opposite to Blunston Arena. We'll just bring back these points against tables up again. And where Blunston Arena was the worst stadium in Australia for the bowlers, see there, their number 2, Marvel Stadium, it's the total opposite. They're giving up. Bowlers are just feasting time and time again. A score there of 240. It's far and away the highest this season. And on the flip side, the batsmen are just having an awful time. 161, the figure there. That is the worst score for BBL 08 across all the grounds in use. And it's been the pace bowlers that have, I think it must be a varying bounce and a bit slow, the deck, and players like Kane Richardson, Usman Khan, when he was here, they're going to lose him. Well, they have lost him, obviously, but these pace bowlers have just feasted. And thinking back earlier in the year when these two teams played here, the Sixers only made 132, but that was enough. Yeah. It was the Renegades could only make the 99 in chasing. So whereas we're looking for the team batting second at Bludston, often it can be the team batting first at Marvel who gets runs on the boards and can put the pressure on. So this toss is it's always massive in Big Bash, and it's going to be the same again.
Oh, I have to agree with you there. It's pretty much Marvel Stadium is great for footy, but for cricket, it's such a disappointing spectacle when you turn on the BBL and you see Marvel Stadium think, oh, you beauty, we're going to see some sixes hit the roof, and they're struggling to hit out of the circle. So, I suppose from a single entry point of view, I'm probably, again, looking at your projections and theory there that I have to look at the bowlers. See if I can get more bowlers in the batting category and try and just focus on possibly the top 3 or 4 batters, and hopefully there's some value there, especially with Curran and Nabi out. So, look, we'll keep an eye on the Draftstars site and the salaries for that in particular. We might be able to tweet out some thoughts for you as when the contest comes out for you.
Yeah, we'll have the preview up the night before, as always. Draftstars won't release those salaries, you wouldn't think, until the end of the Stars Hurricanes game, or at least halfway through that on Thursday night. But once again, we've covered the 56 games so far. We'll be there for the semis as well.
Now let's talk biggest bash Sunday.
Let's talk the big stuff.
The big stuff. Why have we been paying these little $2 entries, and in your case, these $50 just confetti money entries for yourself?
I shouldn't have been playing the 50s. I should have stuck with the 2s, that's for sure.
Oh, they were so tempting to play, but as a single entry guy, what a way! I thought, what a waste if I tried. Look, you've previewed every match on the DFR site. Tell me about your expectations. Tell me about your feelings about going into Sunday in Melbourne.
I'm extremely excited. I think it's been a wonderful promotion by Draftstars, and it's great to see everyone who's got behind them. We've seen a lot of the bigger players sort of come to the fore in the last couple of weeks trying to get their tickets. All the tickets bar one are now claimed. We've got a playoff for the Hurricanes and the Stars game on Thursday. Two-way playoff between Jason Barr, who's going for his second ticket, and SG Brown 102, who amazingly won the last $2 qualifier, which was the Sixers Stars on Sunday, and then tied in the $50 single entry as well with Jason.
Wow.
So he's gone from zero to hero for sure, SG Brown. So, but we've seen obviously big names like JK got himself a ticket. D Townsend came home with a rush. He's got 2 tickets in the last week or so, and it's going to be a huge event. Who's who of DFS in Australia, and I can't wait to be there.
Oh, look, the big names are going to be there. I thought when they first started out, with the little battlers seemed to be getting the tickets to start with, and then the snowball started rolling, and they thought, oh, here comes the big hitters. So JK, as he said, Nova, Line for Life, Briz 17, J to the P, our basketball analyst here at DFR, he's managed to snag a couple of qualifiers. So it is the who's who of the DFS community here in Australia. So talk us through Sunday. What are you going to be doing in Melbourne before the actual event?
Yeah, there's a few of us heading over here from Hobart, obviously in the morning, and going to get in there about lunchtime. And we've got the big event starting at Crown. Part of the package, obviously, all the qualifiers get the hotel room paid for them at Crown Metropole, and we've got a big function at Club 23, Warnie's Bar there at Crown.
Yep.
Where we can all lock the lineups in and sit back and hopefully not relax too much, because that probably means our favourite batsmen have been knocked over early. So hopefully we've got a big sweat ahead of us, and someone's going to go home with $50,000.
Yeah.
So that's going to be incredibly exciting.
Now, we had the opportunity, the both of us had an opportunity to interview a few of the qualifiers here on the Daily Fantasy Rankings website. Is there anyone in particular one you want to reach out and say g'day to and wish them to break a leg?
Well, probably the most amazing story was the first qualifier of the season. That was that Heat Strikers game up there in Brisbane. And I interviewed a player by the name of Knoxinator, Jason Knox. He won the first qualifier. It was the first interview we did. And he played one $2 lineup. It was the first time he'd played DFS for real money ever in his life. He played a few free games and stuff. But first lineup, $2, won himself a ticket to the final straight away. Unbelievable. So if he was to turn that into the 50,000, what a story that would be.
Oh, certainly. $2 in the 50K. Look, he's already won prize money for coming in the field itself. So that's probably the biggest take for me, is that for a $2 entry, you actually win a ticket, accommodation, a big life final, and then you actually go home with some prize money. Personally, I actually want to catch up with, well, I'm not actually going to be catching up with, I actually want to see how Milanos 1987 goes. In that particular contest was the rain up in Brisbane, where we had to squeeze in 5 overs of the second innings just to get the game constituted. And I remember this game because I was having a big sweat for that particular game. And sure, I had my other single entries in different cash games, but it ended up being one player, the difference between myself and a ticket. And so I'm going to keep my eye on Milanos, because he's been pretty good in our articles on DFR, taking up Draftstars only just quite recently. So yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on him. Hopefully we'll see some good results from all the players for the final. Is there any other players that you kind of starstruck you looking to meet up with?
Starstruck. Well, I guess everyone's starstruck with Jay and what he's been doing over there on DraftKings. A couple of guys to keep an eye on as well. Clangers. We did an interview with Clangers after he won his ticket, and he's living the dream at the moment. Resigned from the corporate world. He's spending more time at home with the kids and paying his way through DFS. We noticed Clangers had a big AFL season last season, and I think he's going to be one to watch. And of course, we've got the mysterious Donkey, who didn't want to reveal his identity, but he'll be there. We won't know who he is, but he'll be there somewhere. He's got himself a ticket, and he's got a long history of good results on all the DFS sites. So who knows, if he wins the 50, maybe he'll reveal himself.
Well, it's not hard to miss him on the rankings on the website. He's everywhere in all different platforms of here in daily fantasy sports here in Australia. All right, final question for you, Hef. Now, you're the massive 10-lineup player every night in the BBL. You've only got 2. What is the strategy for Sunday?
Pray. Yeah, I got both my tickets playing the full 10 lineups, and that just gives me the option to play a range of different situations, whether we load up on either team or we get amongst the spinners or the top order batsmen, and sort of mix and match my way to 10 lineups that way. So I'm really nervous that I've only got the 2 lineups, and it's going to separate the men from the boys. You're going to have to make some pretty big decisions, I think, and might have to take an angle that not many people will, and hope it pays off. Let's hope it's a Hurricane stack, and we can ride the Canes to victory, Matho.
Yes, I should be at the final if the Hurricanes get there on Sunday. So, with me phone in the pocket, just checking the RL leaderboard. So, you can get on the old WhatsApp app and just send a few messages if we're nearly there. So,
exactly, you'll have to follow Daily Fantasy Rankings. We're bringing full coverage of the live final. As I said, after speaking to everyone we've interviewed, like, everyone has been more pumped than the latest guy. So there's 85 tickets in that final. There's going to be so many excited people at Crown. So it's going to be awesome, and we're going to have all the coverage of the big event. So get on Twitter and follow us if you haven't already. And we'll see who gets the money.
So what's your actual Twitter handle?
I'm TM Heffernan. You can follow Daily Fantasy Rankings at Rankings DFS. Smatho, we can follow you. I'm sure you'll be tweeting.
I'll start increasing my tweets if the results are going Tassie's way. But look, we'll wrap things up here for tonight's show. Thanks, Hef, for joining us here on our first DFS Down Under show. Let's catch up after the Big Bash final next week, and we'll dissect and hopefully celebrate a big win.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Matho.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch up soon.
Cheers.